because he's taking it to another step. It goes back to what the producers were saying, how people innovate stuff. So Shiftee is definitely innovating for DJing, and I'm going to let him go from there.
Okay, thank you. All right, so this is a DJ workshop, and like the producer discussion, the question came up, what is a producer? And the question, what is a DJ, the answer to that question has changed a lot. And so what it used to mean to be a DJ used to be a very specific image. It used to be 2 turntables, a mixer, and vinyl records. And that's not really what it is anymore. What it is to be a DJ has many different forms. It could be a controller like this thing. It could be turntables plus another thing like what I have here. It could be an iPad. It really could be anything. I think one of the things that has happened is that with all this new technology and this sort of new understanding of what it is to be a DJ, there's sort of same kind of feeling that you heard in the production panel, is there's some sort of dissatisfaction about the state of DJing, or that, you know, like the DJs these days like aren't doing it the right way, or that it's not the same level of quality, and all these kinds of things. And to a certain extent, that's certainly true. But what also happens is sometimes there's a thread that's like DJing is all real vinyl, like that's what DJing should be, and there's sort of, there can sometimes be a backlash against technology, as technology being a way to make life easier for you, to take things which used to take skill and just make them happen with the computer. And so what I wanted to do today is sort of go through different examples of technology, new technology, and show how they can be used in interesting performance ways. So rather than looking at technology as a way that makes life easy, using it as a way that can really make life harder for you. Anytime there's a new tool that comes into play, that's a new skill set you have to learn, that's a new thing that you have to understand. I'm someone who came up with vinyl, doing like DMC battles with all vinyl and all that kind of stuff. I prefer DJing like this. For me, this is more creative, more fun. There are more possibilities as to what you can do using a sort of digital situation with extra kinds of devices. So, like I said, what I want to do in this DJ workshop is go through different examples of technology. But the first thing maybe I'll do is give an example of sort of what a pure turntablist routine would look like. Because with new tools, you get sort of different creative results a lot of the time. So the first thing I'll do is I'll do sort of a DMC style routine, where I'm not really going to make use of any of the technology. It's just going to be the two records and the mixer. And that's assuming I can remember this old routine. Let's try. Hear that okay?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. and then I'd play the record. Okay, so that's an example of sort of like pure turntablism. I'm not using any extra kind of technology. That's a routine I did on real vinyl. I'm just using technique, sort of using a very limited set of tools. That is one of the sort of fun things about turntablism, is taking a limited set of options and seeing how you can look at it and sort of push the envelope. So sometimes limiting your tools makes for cool results. But let's look at some technology. As you may have noticed, I have a computer here. And what's happening is, the songs I'm playing are actually playing on the computer, and I'm using the records here to control these songs. So when I go like this is a special kind of record controlling the song that's on my computer. And for all intents and purposes, it's as if I have that record, so I can scratch it and all that kind of stuff. But what's interesting about using it with the computer is then you get ways to interact with the sound that you wouldn't get from a typical vinyl record. And so one of these examples is something called cue points. And what a cue point does is it allows you to jump to a specific part of the song simply by hitting a pad. But then you can still scratch. So for instance, let me grab a track here. So right now what's going on here is I'm just sort of jumping to these different spots. So here's a song.
I got plans for this rap game.
And when I hit one of these pads, I'm going to jump to a different part of the song. So I can get to these different parts of the song, but still have the vinyl control. So one way from a DJing perspective, this makes life way more interesting, is just being able to get to different parts of a song exactly when you want to. It allows you tremendous creative control. If you're playing just a vinyl record, you know, you can have like some stickers on it and cue up to different parts, but you can't instantaneously jump to like 8 different parts of a song. Or play like, you know, one bar from the middle, then go to the end, then go to the beginning. And so already the idea of the DJ here, you can have much more sort of authorship and a personal touch on how the music comes out. So here's an example of sort of this way of just sort of rearranging the songs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play this track over here. I'm going to do a normal kind of mix with a new song here. And then in a typical pre-technology situation, then at some point I would maybe scratch out and then this song would play. But then what's going to happen is, when the main drop of this song happens, I'm going to jump back to the beginning of this song and get a whole new combination between these two tracks. So let's do that.
I got plans for this rap game.
And this is already taking too long, so I'm going to jump ahead, create more creative control. So I'm bringing in the new song. And I'm about to jump back to the beginning of this one.
I got I got plans for this rap.
So that was a very different way. Thank you. That was a very different way of making these two songs work together. And actually I sort of did something a little subtle which you wouldn't really notice unless you knew the song. But in the middle of the track that was playing over here, normally what happens is there's a whole big like dead section in the middle of the song. So what actually happens in the song is the beat drops, but then it goes to here. And for me, this is sort of what drops the energy. I'm going in on the cut, and then all of a sudden it gets really chill. So what I did is actually in the middle of scratching, I jumped to a whole nother part of the song to keep the energy up. Same kind of thing, having more control over how your tracks are coming out. So yeah, jumping to different parts of the song. Another cool way to use cue points is almost like a drum machine player, or like even having a synthesizer, where if you take this idea of marking different spots of the song and you can jump to those spots, if you have a melody, for instance, you can put a cue point on every note of that melody and then you can jump to the notes of that melody. Or if you have drum sounds, you can put a cue point on every one of those drum sounds, and then when you want to, you can actually do some live pad drumming. What's cool about doing all this and these kind of techniques is all this is happening with the songs that you're DJing with. And so one of the main sort of developments I've liked in DJing is this ability to sort of, when you want to, blur the line between DJ and live producer. And what makes the transition very seamless is that when you're done doing your sort of performance pieces, that's just the song you were playing. So I'm going to do an example where I do some pad drumming with tracks. Same idea, cue points. I've marked different spots of the song. And then I'm also going to have a part where I do sort of a synth kind of jam. So let me grab the track, and I'll give you a quick tour, actually, of what's happening. So we have... So that, those are the different spots that I've marked in my song. And I guess, yeah, normally I do this routine as like an intro. So I'll like do the full intro just so you see how it would be like in real life.
Speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Up in the sky, it's a bird. It's a plane. It's Shiftee. Low down, gritty, and grimy. Shiftee.
Okay, so that's my way of making that song sound. So all that's just coming from working with that track, like a single song, setting some cue points, messing with it, messing with the different parts, and you can, in that moment, really turn a track into an instrument, really, and different kinds of instruments at that. I had drum sounds, I had synth sounds, and all this kind of different stuff. So cue points, that's an example of a tool. I was also using an effect there on top of my scratching. So there was a part here where I was going like... Did I have the effect on?